Calling all flock members. If you want to become truly elite, for just $1 a month, you too can become an elite bad bird. Check out my Patreon account. Link is in the description. In time, you will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it, run from it. Destiny still arise.
Welcome back, my flock. The Badraven here, and it is time. It is the place, and it is here in the Badraven's nest to do our spoiler review for Marvel's Avengers Infinity War, a movie 10 years in the making. This is my spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, do not watch this until you see it, because believe me, there are tons of spoilers that are going to be in here. Andrew and I watched the Thursday opening of it. Totally blew us away. Totally wasn't expecting what came out of the film. Marvel has poured its soul into this movie. Its whole being for the whole cinematic universe is in this one motion picture. With all the characters and all the storylines, it pays off. When me and Andrew watched this on that Thursday night opening, something happened in that theater that I had never ever seen. I've watched movies all my life at the theater, and I've seen a lot of things in movie theaters. Them clapping, laughing, whatever. I've seen that. This had all that. This had cheers for your heroes and ultimate sadness for things that happened in the movie. Laughter. Everything, every emotion was in this movie. And Marvel really, the Russo brothers who directed this, really knew what they were doing when they paced this. It's non-stop action, it's non-stop story, and they balanced the characters correctly. Everybody gets their moment to shine, I think, at least in my opinion. So that was just something I've not seen in a long time, where people at the end of this movie, before the credits rolled, but at the end of the final scene, it goes to black, and I've never seen an audience the way they acted in there. People were just talking out loud, couldn't believe what they just seen, were totally blown away by the ending, were shocked by the ending, me included. I was just stunned. I was just in stunned disbelief of what I had just watched. What Marvel had the guts to do in their movie. In this movie of the Avengers. Not only to bring such a big movie together with all these characters. A culmination of everything for the past 10 years to put in a ultimate battle for us to enjoy. It wasn't what I expected, and I'm glad of that. I'm glad it wasn't what I expected. You always hear people complain, oh, it's the same old humdrum movie. They do the same formula over and over. You cannot say that with this movie. This movie was its own beast altogether, and that beast being Thanos. Thanos was the star of this movie. The Avengers were in it, but Thanos was the main star. The actor that played Thanos is Josh Brolin. Was the actor that played Thanos, and I've seen a lot of his other movies, so I know he can act. But he gave a very special performance in this with motion capture. How you do a motion capture and capture the soul of a character like Josh Brolin did in this, and the Russo brothers bringing it out, and the writing bringing it out, was surpassed any of my expectations for the character. You usually have your bad guy. He's a one-dimensional character. You can pretty much throw him with any other group of bad guys, but he was Thanos was his own individual, multi-layered character with emotion, with a conviction, with all types of charisma of a character. So he was well casted. It was well acted. Kudos to all involved with bringing him to life on the big screen, because they did a tremendous job, and they really, really knocked it out of the park, as I like to say in my videos. The crowd of people after the movie were talking. I was stunned. Everybody there was stunned. So we had to, I mean, it was pretty much nobody moved. Nobody left their seats. They all stayed there for the after credit scene, because we wanted just to know what we had watched, what had transpired on the screen for the last 2.5 hours. And was a very short 2.5 hours to me and Andrew. We could have sat there. I could have sat there through the next one if they already had it filmed, and I could have just continued it just to find out what was going to happen in the next one. It was its own complete story. Like Thanos' own word, we are all going to know what it's like to lose, and the Avengers found out. All right. Let's get into the basic story of the movie. Of course, you got Thanos. If you've been under a rock, it's got the gauntlet, and he's wanting to put all the stones in there. And you start with each stone and work your way up to the final soul stone. And it was tremendous the way they went through each and every stone as he gathered them one by one. You had other characters. You had people protecting Vision because of the stone in his head. You had Doctor Strange with his stone, and Tony Stark and Star-Lord and all that protecting him. You had Thor trying to make a weapon that could kill Thanos. You had multiple things going on, but it didn't seem rushed. It felt like it all had its place in the movie. But Thanos is trying to get all the stones. He's going through one to get to the final stone, to get the soul power, to what he says is to give the world mercy. He wants to give the world mercy by wiping out half the population in the entire universe, not alone just in the world, in the entire universe. He thinks it's overpopulated, and that nature needs to do its course and to get rid of half the population. And he thinks he's the person that can do that. He feels like a knight on a quest to get this done, even though he is technically a madman of wanting to commit genocide. You have their plot set up for you, you know. What I'd like to kind of go into is all the different characters and how they all got their chance to shine. You had Doctor Strange. I had only watched him in one movie, and that's his own movie. He really became a complete character. You could tell that he's going to be a very powerful character for the next however many years they're going to have him in the fold. I like the way they bring his spells and stuff into effect. It changes a lot of stuff as far as being able to go to different levels. Just the straight up fight. You have, you know, a lot of different things that he can bring to the table with multiverses and time and space and all that. I think that's really cool with him. I think with Tony and him together, doing the little banter they had at the beginning of the movie and all through the parts when they were on Titan, it was just some of the best stuff I'd ever heard. They just constantly played off each other, and with Spider-Man thrown in the mix, you had a lot of camaraderie there that just paid off in the filming, I thought. You also had Hulk, which you don't see a lot of Hulk, and people getting upset with the misdirection in the trailers because you see him running with the Avengers in Wakanda, and he's not actually there. It's just Banner. I still like the way that when Hulk had been beaten by Thanos, beaten up pretty much, could have killed him easily. Hulk showed a very scared side, and he would not come back out and become the Hulk for anybody. So you get a very big variety of emotions. You got character building with the Hulk, and I thought that that's going to really open up the Hulk for the next Avengers movie, Avengers 4, whatever it's titled. I think Hulk's going to play a big part of that, since he's kind of just got his tail between his legs after Thanos pretty much roughed him up. So we're going to see how he can face adversity and after his first loss and be able to take Thanos or whoever on in the future. Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy was a very... I like the way that they came into the story and kind of changed the tone, because the Guardians of the Galaxies are always a different type of superheroes, or what you want to call them. They bring in a totally different vibe, and the humor from Star-Lord and all of them together is perfectly timed. That's pretty unusual when you have two different directors directing these actors, because their main director didn't direct this one from the Guardians of the Galaxy series. So I thought it was cool how they was able to keep all that together in continuity and be able to interact with all the Marvel characters that we know. It was kind of unusual, told Andrew, to see all of them on screen together, which they didn't do a very big team up of all of them. You had your pockets of characters, but the ones you saw together, like Star-Lord and Doctor Strange and Tony Stark and Spider-Man together, was really a fantasy come true. So I think they all did very well too. Then you had the fight in Wakanda, where you had Steve Rogers, Captain America there. You had the Black Panther, of course. You had Bucky, Rocket, and Thor come in. They make their dramatic appearance later in the fight. We'll get into that a little later. But you have Scarlet Witch trying to take Vision there to have the stone removed. So they were it was like a different front there, and you had some of Thanos' henchmen there to be able to, an army to try to take the stone out of his head so he could get the last stone. That was the ultimate action scene times 100. There was everything in the world going on, but it still was very well choreographed, with all the different characters getting their different little cool scenes. Like you had Bucky picking up Rocket, and they just kind of did like a spin, and they was like both shooting at the same time. Really cool scene. You had Scarlet Witch in there doing her powers, lifting up all the different stuff of the bad guys and just crushing it to the ground. You had Black Widow fighting toe to toe with aliens. So they had all their characters really showed a great sides of each other. And I super love Thor being brought back to a redemption of him from Ragnarok, where he was kind of made fun of and kind of comical, which he has comical parts, but he really showed his own when he got to get a new weapon, the Stormbreaker. He's finally got his hammer back in a way, which is an act. He gets that from which was really weird. He had Peter Dinklage in this one making a cameo, and he played a giant dwarf. It was really kind of strange to see him as a giant, that he pulls it off, and he makes the weapon with the help of Thor to be able to fight Thanos. And then from that on, when when Thor gets that weapon and gets teleported back to Wakanda with Rocket, that entrance got a raving applause from the audience. It just was pumping. I love those types of movies where the crowd gets into it, and I'm hooping, hollering, everybody else is too. It just had a ton of those moments with Steve Rogers, showing him for the first time, Captain America with his beard, helping Vision and Scarlet Witch get out of a jam earlier in the movie. Everybody had their own little entrance, and they all got their applause from it. So that's really what I like, is seeing it with the first day crowds. After you see it the second day out or something, people get more scared to do that, but it's really cool to see it. They did it with ease in this movie. They really knew what they were doing. You had a lot of emotional baggage, and you had like different groups of having this done to them. You had Scarlet Witch and Vision, which Vision pretty much told him to destroy me to Scarlet Witch if it comes down, so Thanos can get this this stone in my head. You had that gut wrenching stuff going on between them. You had Thanos and Gamora. He his not his real daughter, stepdaughter that he had stolen from a planet. His love for her, but his love for the gauntlet with the stones in it was more. He wanted to do that. He'd rather have that than her. It was the conflict between those two. Gamora and Star-Lord. Gamora wanting Star-Lord to kill her if Thanos got a hold of her because she knew where the last stones were. The Soul Stone was. All those emotions. I mean, you expect emotions, but with multiple characters doing it, plus a bad guy, it's unheard of all this different type of emotional baggage that brings to it. It really helped the story out. It really helped, and every character really carried that. Every actor and actress really promoted that big time in this movie. It was really well done. It was on par with any kind of Oscar nominated movies. I thought it'll never get an Oscar. I understand, because it's an action movie. It's a superhero movie. They don't ever think they're that kind of type of movie. But they had heartfelt emotions in this, and had well proven desires. Like with Thanos, knew what he wanted. He had a reason for what he wanted. He thought he was doing right in his mind, in his twisted mind. He thought that sacrificing his daughter, Gamora, to get the stone was worth it, to wipe out half the population, to save the world. He wasn't thinking about destroying the world. He thought that was saving the world by cutting down on people to use all the resources the universe had to offer. He felt that would make it better for everybody else. Didn't think about all the bad thing that came along with it either, though. But that's another story. When you have a movie like this, you're going to have deaths. I wasn't prepared for all the deaths that I was going to see. I didn't even think about him actually getting all the stones to be able to do that. They promote about how he gets all the stones, he can snap his fingers, and half the people in the universe die. They do such a good job with the scene up to that point where Thor throws the storm breaker right through Thanos'. He's got all the stones in the glove, the gauntlet. He is like shooting a beam out there, and the Thor throws the Stormbreaker, and it just cuts through it like butter. The power of the gauntlet slams into his chest, and you're thinking, oh, okay, he's finally beat him. He's finally destroyed him. There's no way he can use the glove. But Thanos says, you should have aimed at my head, and just snaps his finger, and it just, goes to a totally different scene. And I was like, what? Just for a split second, I was like, this didn't just happen when I think this happened. And then you see the glove all melted and stuff, and you see the aftermath, and you're still kind of like in disbelief that it happened. And then people start seeing people, turn to dust. Different characters you wouldn't expect, in like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. All these characters that the next generation of Avengers are all dying. I still think that the more gut-wrenching one was what I wasn't expecting, which I didn't expect the other ones I just mentioned, was Gamora dying. And the way she died, being thrown off the cliff to get the Soul Stone by her dad for his great stone to kill everybody else with. That one affected me more than anything. Because I kind of felt when Spider-Man and Black Panther went that, they're not going to let them stay dead. They got sequels coming out, so how could that happen? It was really weird to see the bad guy win. And that's what Thanos did. Thanos won the battle. He won the war and the battle. And everything he said came to pass. And he got to sit out on the porch of his, wherever he was at the end of that, and just smile because he had done what he said. He had brought balance to the universe, as he said. So it was a lot to take in. It was a lot deeper than I thought it would be for a superhero movie. I commend them for going that route. A lot of studios wouldn't have let that happen because most of the time the good guys win. To be able to do that, to take a chance on that, was very not ordinary for a studio to do. I commend them completely. And we had a one after credit scene if you want to stay for that, and it introduces Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is going to be having a movie out right before the Avengers, the next Avengers 4. She's going to be introduced. Hopefully, the cavalry's coming for the ones that are disappeared. But I was telling Andrew, Doctor Strange said in one part of it, this is the end game, and he said also told Tony that this is no other way. He said for this had the way it had to happen, because he was told Tony in no uncertain terms that I am never going to give this stone up that I have, the time stone, for you or Spider-Man or whatever. You can die, whatever. I'm going to protect it. And as soon as Tony gets his near-death experience, he hands it over. Doctor Strange hands it over for Tony's life. And even Tony is shocked after he told him that. But see, earlier in the movie, Doctor Strange had went to the future in his mind and saw the possible outcomes of this. And then he did like 14 million different outcomes, and they only won one time. And we're thinking that one time is he gave the stone up. It's anybody's guess of what's going to happen. Me and Andrew kind of think time travel of some sort, whether they make a time machine or something, because we don't think all the ones that disappeared are dead. So you always got to have your superheroes come back. So it's going to be neat. I'm glad it's just a year that we have to wait until we find out what happened with this. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to finally see it all play out. I'm kind of looking forward to the movies in between, the Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel. I can't wait to see their movies and then get into the other one next year. So it's going to be fun waiting for those to come out. Leave in the comments if you've watched it. I'm sure you have if you wouldn't be watching this spoiler review. What did you think at the end of the movie? When it came to the end of the movie and all the people started to vanish, what was your reaction? Like I told you, the theater, I'd never seen that kind of reaction before. And nobody moved. Nobody got out of their seat until the end of the final credits. And that was some long credits, people. Tell me what you thought. What was the crowd reaction? Was it sold out? Did you think it was a good movie? Did you think Thanos was the major character that we were waiting on, that we deserved as a bad guy? Because I've always told Andrew, you can't have a good guy without a really good bad guy. And he was a really good bad guy. I think he ranks up at the very top of any bad guy I've ever seen in any superhero movie. I mean, that's saying a lot. I've seen a lot of superhero movies with bad guys. Just leave a comment and share this with your friends, and come back and watch more videos with us. We appreciate every view we get here on the Badraven channel. And I always remember that the Badraven is your friend. And we're always looking out for great movies and great reviews to give you to go see some good movies out there. And also remember about the Patreon. I know I beat it into you about the Patreon account with the Become Elite Bad Bird. Just $1 a month, and I can say your name on the end of every video and put it on the last part of my videos, your name written out. Just do that for the Badraven. We really appreciate it. It helps with the way YouTube is now. That's about the only way that you can make it on YouTube through that. But if you can't, I understand. We just appreciate you coming and watching our channel. Thank you for watching, and we're going to let you go and talk to you later. And bye.